What if I told you that Blake Lively's so-called Hollywood image is crumbling again? From Kristen Bell calling out her hypocrisy to shocking new claims about how Blake manipulates narratives behind the scenes, insiders are finally speaking up. And now, leaked conversations between Elsie and Claire paint a very different picture of who Blake really is when the cameras are off. Buckle up, because this might be the beginning of her biggest unraveling yet. It all started when Blake Lively's carefully curated America's Sweetheart image began to fracture under the weight of her own contradictions. For years, she's been celebrated as the poised, picture-perfect Hollywood mom, stylish, philanthropic, and always armed with a witty Instagram caption. But recently, that image has started to look more like a mask than a mirror. And nowhere was that more evident than in Kristen Bell's quiet but cutting commentary that sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Kristen didn't name names, but everyone knew who she was talking about. During a recent podcast appearance, Bell discussed how certain actresses project an image of perfection while mistreating crew members and colleagues behind closed doors. She talked about the discomfort of watching someone present a false front of kindness for the cameras while privately belittling those around them. Within hours, online sleuths connected the dots, pointing straight to Blake Lively, who has faced similar allegations from multiple industry insiders in recent months. What made this moment so striking wasn't just Kristen Bell's subtle shade, it was how Blake responded. Instead of ignoring it, she reportedly reached out to mutual acquaintances to clarify that she had no issue with Bell and respected her work. But that's Blake's signature PR move: kill them with kindness in public, while quietly ensuring that the narrative bends back in her favor. It's the same tactic she's been accused of using during her ongoing feud with Justin Baldoni, pretending to take the high road while controlling who gets silenced behind the scenes. The irony is that Kristen Bell's comments seem to hit a nerve because they reflected something many in Hollywood have whispered for years, that Blake's charm is often performative. While her fans see her as graceful and genuine, insiders have described her as cold, calculating, and obsessed with controlling every word said about her. And that's where this story takes a darker turn, because Elsie, a longtime Hollywood commentator, claims she's seen firsthand how Blake operates when the cameras stop rolling. Elsie didn't hold back. On her live stream, she laid it all out: how Blake Lively's public charm hides a long history of quiet manipulation, control, and calculated silence. Elsie said what many in the industry have only hinted at: that Blake isn't the kind, empathetic woman she plays on talk shows or in brand campaigns. Instead, Elsie described her as someone who studies the optics of kindness, performing it when it benefits her and retreating behind her PR team the moment real accountability comes calling. Elsie's tone was frustrated, almost exhausted. She uses people's vulnerabilities as a mirror, she said. If you're going through something, Blake turns it into a brand moment for herself. She'll post about kindness, but the second it's not convenient for her narrative, you disappear. That comment hit hard, especially after the recent reports of Blake distancing herself from Taylor Swift's legal turmoil and the Baldoni case controversy, two situations where silence spoke volumes. According to Elsie, Blake has mastered the art of pretending to be above the drama while quietly fueling it. She allegedly plants stories through friendly outlets, sends cryptic posts that hint at victimhood, and lets her fans do the dirty work of attacking anyone who dares to criticize her. And then, once the damage is done, she'll emerge days later with a polished photo of her kids or a charity campaign, resetting her image like nothing happened. Elsie went further, exposing what she called the PR empathy machine surrounding Blake, where everything from her public friendships to her apologies are pre-scripted. Even her vulnerability feels strategic, Elsie said. It's not about connection, it's about control. She wants the world to think she's misunderstood, not manipulative. That last line resonated deeply across social media. Clips of Elsie's commentary went viral, sparking debates about how much of Blake's good girl brand was real versus engineered. Some defended her, saying every celebrity manages their image. But others saw Elsie's insight as a rare moment of truth in an industry built on illusion. And then came Claire Aub's leaked audio, proof that this wasn't just gossip, but a deeper pattern of behavior playing out behind closed doors. When Claire Aub's leaked audio hit the internet, everything changed. What started as whispers about Blake Lively's hypocrisy suddenly turned into hard evidence of how far she might go to protect her image. The recording, allegedly captured during a private meeting, featured Claire speaking candidly about Blake's behind-the-scenes behavior, and it painted a chilling picture of manipulation, control, and fear. In the audio, Claire could be heard describing how Blake curated every reaction during her fallout with Justin Baldoni. According to her, Blake didn't just want to win legally, she wanted to dominate the narrative emotionally. She told me, "If I cry, the internet will forgive me. If I say nothing, they'll fill in the blanks with sympathy." She knows exactly how to weaponize silence, Claire said. That one line sent social media into a frenzy. Fans couldn't believe that the woman often hailed as one of Hollywood's classiest figures could be so coldly strategic. But it didn't stop there. Claire also mentioned that Blake had reportedly influenced others in her circle, encouraging them to distance themselves from Baldoni, while feeding select outlets exclusive insights into her emotional turmoil. It was all, Claire claimed, part of a long-term effort to frame herself as the misunderstood victim. The same strategy she allegedly used years ago when rumors swirled about her strained friendship with Taylor Swift resurfaced once more. Carefully crafted statements, vague quotes about boundaries, and a flood of curated sympathy posts. The leak also raised serious questions about the ongoing trial and what kind of evidence could emerge next. Legal analysts have already begun speculating whether Blake's private conversations, messages, or even her coordination with PR firms could be subpoenaed, especially if they reveal a deliberate campaign to defame or manipulate public opinion. If those records exist, they could completely shift the court's perception of her credibility. Meanwhile, the internet has been divided. Some fans say Claire betrayed confidence by leaking the audio. Others argue that it finally exposes the truth about a Hollywood system that rewards deception. Either way, Blake's team is in crisis mode, issuing no-comment statements while quietly scrubbing past interviews from circulation. The once untouchable image of grace and composure is now under forensic examination, and every word, every silence, and every smile from Blake Lively suddenly feels calculated. The aftermath of Claire Aub's leaked audio has sent a shockwave through Hollywood. Overnight, the narrative around Blake Lively flipped from beloved icon to carefully constructed illusion. Major entertainment outlets that once praised her poise began to quietly pivot their coverage, using more cautious language. Words like image-conscious, private, and guarded started replacing the glowing adjectives that used to define her press. The shift was subtle but unmistakable. Social media, however, was far less forgiving. TikTok dissected every moment of Blake's past interviews, comparing her mannerisms and tone to the manipulative patterns described in Claire's recording. Old clips of her praising honesty and authenticity were played side by side with transcripts of the leaked audio, creating a jarring contrast that made fans question whether they ever really knew who she was. Comment sections filled with disbelief, disappointment, and a growing sense of betrayal. "I used to think she was different," one viral comment read. "Now I realize she just played the part better than everyone else." Behind the scenes, things reportedly got even messier. PR insiders claim that multiple brands quietly paused upcoming campaigns featuring Blake until the situation stabilizes. One luxury label allegedly demanded revised talking points before moving forward with her scheduled winter campaign, worried about potential backlash. It's a stunning reversal for someone whose marketability once depended on her perceived integrity and warmth. Even within the industry, whispers have turned into open discussions. A few A-list actors, some of whom once counted Blake among their close friends, have been noticeably distant in recent public events. One high-profile producer was quoted anonymously saying, "Hollywood's tolerance for fake empathy is running out. It's a sign that the tide may finally be turning against." The kind of media micromanagement that Blake embodied for so long, and perhaps most telling of all, fans who once defended her unconditionally are now demanding transparency. They want to know what's real, what's PR, and what Blake will say next. But so far, she's stayed silent, posting nothing, saying nothing, letting the narrative unfold without her. Maybe that silence is strategic. Or maybe, for the first time in a long time, Blake Lively doesn't have the right words to spin it. At this point, Blake Lively's silence speaks louder than any statement her team could draft. What began as subtle shade from Kristen Bell and commentary from Elsie has evolved into something much larger, a full-blown reckoning of authenticity in Hollywood. The leaked audio from Claire Aub wasn't just gossip. It was a mirror reflecting how far image-driven control can go before it collapses under its own weight. For years, Blake built her brand on grace and poise, but now that same composure feels unnervingly calculated. The court of public opinion is shifting, and the industry is watching closely. If the trial exposes more evidence of manipulation or orchestrated narratives, it could permanently fracture her reputation, not just as an actress, but as one of Hollywood's most powerful image architects. For now, fans are left to question whether Blake Lively's kindness was ever real, or if it was just another role she played perfectly. In a town built on illusion, the truth always finds its way to the surface, and when it does, no amount of curated silence can bury it again. This isn't just about Blake anymore. It's about the end of Hollywood's golden age of pretending. As the dust begins to settle, one thing is clear: Blake Lively's empire of perfection has never looked more fragile. What began as whispers of hypocrisy has spiraled into one of Hollywood's most dissected scandals, exposing the underbelly of an industry obsessed with image management. Kristen Bell's remarks were the spark, Elsie's commentary became the fuel, and Claire Aub's leaked audio was the explosion that ripped through the illusion. For the first time, Blake's reputation isn't being written by her PR team, it's being rewritten by the public. For years, Blake mastered the delicate balance between privacy and exposure. Every red carpet smile, every polished interview, and every curated post was part of a narrative built on grace, intelligence, and control. But the problem with control is that it only lasts as long as the illusion does. Once the curtain lifts, the performance is over, and right now, the audience isn't applauding. The leaked recordings and behind-the-scenes accounts have cracked open the persona she spent years perfecting, revealing something colder, sharper, and unsettlingly strategic beneath the surface. Hollywood has always rewarded those who can sell sincerity, but it's becoming clear that audiences now crave something different: truth. The internet no longer accepts carefully worded apologies or vague captions about healing and growth. People want transparency, not a script. And as more insiders like Elsie and Claire step forward, the old PR playbook is losing its power. If Blake's team thinks silence will save her, they may be gravely mistaken. Her refusal to address the controversy only deepens the perception that she has something to hide. The irony is almost poetic. After years of controlling every word, she's now being defined by the words she won't say. Each day she stays quiet, the narrative evolves without her, and Hollywood continues to debate whether she is the victim of a smear campaign or the architect of her own downfall. In the end, this saga is about far more than one actress's image. It's about a cultural shift, the dismantling of Hollywood's polished facade and the exposure of the machinery that builds and protects it. Blake Lively's story might just be the cautionary tale of a generation, a reminder that no amount of filters, followers, or perfectly lit interviews can conceal the truth forever. Once authenticity becomes the new currency, manipulation becomes the debt that no one can afford to pay.